I think that social media in particular, but on marketing, in a boom economy, in an area where you've got so much stuff coming in, you're reactive rather than proactive. The thing to remember is that you still want to provide that really great customer service. And once you've provided that customer service that has people going and talking about you and saying really great things, capture it.
So, welcome to this edition of MPN Talks. I'm joined today by Sharon Mostyn. Sharon, hi, good to see you.
Great to see you, Lenny. How are you?
I'm doing great, thanks. And so I did pronounce everything right. I know we've known each other for a while, but I pronounced your name correctly.
Yep, it's Mostyn like Boston, unless you're from there, and then it's Mostyn.
Oh yeah, Patika. Well, Sharon, again, it's great to have you join us today. And you and I first met 6 years ago, 7 years ago. I think when we were working on some marketing initiatives. And one of the things that we had talked about as you and I were putting together the original sort of scope, this is going back 6 years ago and two jobs, is some of the uniqueness of architects and engineers and what they need for marketing. But before we sort of jump into that, can you just tell us, and for the people watching today, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into marketing?
So I answered an ad for someone who they were looking for somebody to put together a computer system for them and a network. And I walked into an advertising agency, and the owner said, "What do you know?" I said, "What do you know about computers?" And he said, "Well, I saw one in a store once." So we had a little bit of work to do. And by the time I was done, he said, you know enough about marketing that you can pick up everything you need to know. You're analytical enough. And really that was kind of the basis of their firm. Was everything was measured and everything was optimized. And those learnings from 100 years ago just really stick with me today. John Wanamaker said 100 years ago, 50% of my marketing works, I just don't know which 50%. And with the advent of digital, we can easily tell you which 50% is working and how to optimize the other 50% that isn't.
Oh my gosh, I know it is. It's amazing, and I mean, you really hit on it. Technology is it's just changing blisteringly fast. How small business owners are able to keep up with it is beyond me. I mean, what if you had to sort of define the marketing industry today for the typical small business owner? I mean, that's a broad question, but what are some of the key challenges facing all small businesses today in terms of marketing communication? Inevitably, I guess it's going to tie in a little bit to technology, right? Because technology and marketing are almost intertwined.
Most definitely. I think from the perspective of finding, being found, finding your specific site on search engines, there were a quote that says, if you build it, they will come. And that is not the case these days, because there are
Everybody's building it.
18
Yeah.
million other sites out there that people are building that in hopes that somebody will come. And so making sure that your website, kind of as the hub of your marketing experience, has everything about you from a branding perspective, that you come across as professional, from a keyword perspective, that your website is optimized for the terms that people are searching for to find you. That's kind of really the key. And all of those marketing initiatives kind of flow off of that hub of a website. So your social media will be bringing people in, and
Mhm.
you can also lead people out to your social media. Your email marketing, again, will be bringing people in, and again, you can lead them out to your social media as well. I find that people don't necessarily look to social media as a really great opportunity specifically for architects and engineers. But I read a study recently that said 72% of architects, interior designers, engineers, facility managers are all on social media. And
Wow.
so if you're trying to reach people, that's a great way to do it. And you can get them to sign up for your email newsletter, nurture them along that customer journey, to really kind of be where they are when, when they're looking for your products and services, and be that top of mind subject matter expert.
So, I mean, I think you said something really important there, talking about how 72% of architects and engineers, design professionals are on social media. And some of them might be on social media for personal reasons, some for business, probably most both. One of the things that's always jumped out at me, and one of the reasons we're so excited to talk to you today, is yeah, I see a lot of marketing material. There's tons of it, surplus of it out there. So much of the marketing material that I see speaks to really, I guess, the typical small business, and it would be whether it's a widget manufacturer or a florist. And widget manufacturer is in the business of manufacturing and selling widgets, and then obviously a florist selling floral arrangements. There's a product, there's a visual product, and it's a product that people are interested in, but because of the tangible nature of it, you can build websites, you can build marketing campaigns around it. Something that I think is a challenge for the typical professional service firm, and in this case, we could probably talk as much about a lawyer, an accountant, or an architect and engineer, is in a consultative business model, they're selling their knowledge for a fee. So it's, what was that show? Getting inside of John Malkovich's head. You're trying to sell a product that is not only inherently intangible, but is by definition going to be customized to whomever your client is. And as I read a lot of this marketing material that's out there, I always think, what does that mean to an architect or engineer, though? What part of that makes sense for them, and then what part is somewhat different that they would need to approach differently? So is there anything that you could address in that regard, in that if you're an architect, an engineer, really any professional, and you are as well, you sell consultative services, how should they be looking at some of the marketing material out there on the shelf differently? And maybe not skeptically, but certainly differently, realizing that some of that is applicable, but not all.
So the one thing that when we talk about a marketing strategy, and specifically a social media content strategy, is to do the 411. So 411 generally is information. And the way that we look at it is, out of every 6 posts that you do on social media, 4 of them should be informational. And that's kind of what you're talking about, is not necessarily me. It's not necessarily sell, but it is, here's how you know that I know what I'm talking about. Whether it's a marketing person, whether it's a lawyer, whether it's an architect or an engineer, here are the things that I find are important or new or something of value in my field. And if I share that information, you'll understand that I'm a thought leader and that I'm a subject matter expert.
Interesting.
And I understand what's going on. So
establishing credibility, your authority level in particular subject matters.
Exactly.
Wow.
So 4 out of every 6 posts, 2/3
that's
of posts
amazing,
should be some sort of informational, whether it's your own content that you're sharing, maybe in the form of a blog post being shared on social media, or whether it's somebody else's. Many times people are like, I'm not going to share the competition's post. I'm not necessarily saying share the competition's post, but I'm saying, there are obviously, using architecture as an example, you can find many architectural journals and digests and information in that aspect. And what's the latest and greatest? Maybe it's a building code change that's going nationwide or in your specific area.
COVID.
Things like that. Exactly. So, finding out what those points of interest are, and what's interesting to your target audience, and sharing information about what they want to know. Then take the first one, and make it a little bit of soft sell. So there's a little bit of here are the kind of things that we do. You might be interested in this as well. Sometimes that's more of a cross sell or an upsell. And then that 6th post, and it doesn't have to be for information, one sell, one soft sell, but mix them in. But in that one, in that 1/6 post, you can really kind of hit that hard sell a little bit more.
Yeah.
And again, when it's widgets, it's a lot easier. You go, hey guys, here's my widget, But with this, it's, it's maybe it's a case study or something, sign up for a newsletter, just because when you think about from a retailer or a sales perspective, that final sale is the be all and end all. And
Yeah.
ultimately you want to get the project. But there are steps to lead people along that customer journey and making sure that, that micro conversion is the next step where you want to
Hmm.
lead them. That could be your sixth post. So
Wow. Yeah, great. Yeah,
having
great point. And yeah, I mean, it's amazing how much the world has changed. Yeah, I can remember when I first started my career, inevitably being forced to go to some of these sales. The internet wasn't a thing yet. Being forced to go to some of these sales seminars, whether it was Sandler or all these other sales strategies that were out there, it was almost the antithesis of what you just described. It was, hold everything close to the vest, ask, and then pivot your sort of product to whatever, element you think is going to help sell it. But now it's get out in front of it, provide knowledge, um, and then allow people to find you. What a fascinating difference. Yeah, something else you hit on that I think is timely, um, when you talk about providing content is, architects and engineers within professional services, I think today have an interesting challenge. Maybe a lot of people do because of the economy, but we're in a construction boom, and these things are cyclical. Right now, as I talk to a lot of architects and engineers, their biggest issue is they have more work than they know what to do with. And they're like, I can't even open all my emails. And my wife and I are looking to move. We're trying to get a surveyor to come survey our house. And we had to call 5 that were willing before we could even find one that was willing to call us back. And then they told us we'd have to wait 3 months. So because of their backlog. When you look at um, media, marketing, online presence, what would you say to an architect or an engineer that says, why should I even be thinking about this right now? I have more business than I know what to do with.
I think that social media in particular, but
Mhm.
on marketing, in a boom economy, in an area where you've got so much stuff coming in, you're reactive rather than proactive. The thing to remember is that you still want to provide that really great customer service. And once you've provided that customer service that has people glowing and talking about you and saying really great things, capture it. Make sure that you get it on your Google My Business, on your LinkedIn,
Yeah.
all of those places, and and get those 5-star ratings, those 4-star ratings, to make sure that when things are starting to slow down again, people are still talking about you and people are still referring back to, hey, Lenny left me a really great LinkedIn approval and said good things. And I want to make sure that I highlight that when things are quiet, making sure that your network is strong and solid, and
Hmm.
they know about you is really an important way to drum up business. But now it's building that network, and so making sure that you're
Yeah.
connecting on social media, on LinkedIn especially, making sure that people know how to find you, and making sure that people who have found you and used your services are still, sharing the good word, if you will.
Oh, what a good point. And I mean, as you're talking, I'm thinking back to 2006 to 2008. And a lot of what I hear today from our architect, engineer, surveying clients is really reminiscent of the tail end or even the apex of that construction boom leading up to 2008. Now, for a lot of reasons, I'm not saying that the economy today is exact. In many ways, I think it's completely different. But there are some similarities in terms of the run up. And it was the same thing. Nobody was investing in marketing. Maybe Google star ratings were just starting to come in to play. You only had about 4 or 5 years of Apple phone being around. But then the bottom fell out of the economy. And so many individuals that said, we don't have time for marketing, suddenly were desperate for it, along with everybody else. So I think what you're saying is sort of like the squirrel kind of putting the acorns away in the middle of the summer. You got to prepare for that inevitable turn in the economy, and who knows why the economy is going to turn, but it's almost inevitable that it will. And so as busy as they are today, um, leveraging those projects to plan for that change is just fascinating, and I think spot on recommendation. So how do they do that? All right. I mean, at a high level, because as a business owner, I didn't know right away if if I'm an architect, I'm an engineer, I'm getting project assignments, I'm completing them. What are some high level ways they could begin to track digitally the success of their projects, the satisfaction of their customers, to then enhance their social media presence and overall reputation online?
So I think that Google My Business is a great example of what you're talking about. The first thing to do is claim your profile on Google My
Hmm.
Business, and it's google.com/business.
Okay.
And then make sure that you include that link, and you can actually get a link that will allow people to rate and review your products and services. Make it, sometimes it's as simple as putting it in your signature file on your email.
Hmm.
So here's my email, here's my phone number. Oh, by the way, leave us a review on social, on Google My Business, or leave us a review on LinkedIn, things like that. But once you've claimed that profile, don't let it stagnate.
Yeah.
Make sure that you've got everything updated, you've got your hours updated. If you're off for the holidays, things like that, put in those hours as well. But also make sure that you're posting on a fairly regular basis. And that applies to all social media. Although I don't necessarily, I think more of Google My Business as a search engine optimization or a
Hmm.
search engine marketing initiative. But with all social media, people are going to use that as a third party validation to say, is this a real company? Is this legit? And, do you have to post every hour of every day? Not so much, but
And
posting.
sometimes just repost. I mean, just
Exactly.
literally just nudging people, making sure they know you're alive. So, and again, I know this from having set up my own business about 4 years ago, after mostly being, an employee of larger companies. Um, it's not hard, but it is daunting if you're a small business owner, and you're in the business of providing your profession, and what you really want to focus in on by and large is your profession. All these other business issues, just having some help and some support to get them going efficiently is money well spent. And I know one of the reasons my professional net started and is working in conjunction with insurance companies like Hudson is, we partner with experts such as yourself that work with a lot of architects and engineers that understand that niche. So if an architect or an engineer were to give you a call, they're not going to spend the first 5 billable hours explaining to you what they do. Um, what's the best way for a professional such as we're talking about and are watching the show to reach out to somebody like you? What could they be looking for in terms of an engagement? Would it be an individual project retainer? I mean, how would they normally structure a contract to just get a little bit of support from an expert like you to help help administer everything that we're talking about today?
So there are definitely different ways that we can work together. The
Hmm.
first being, as you mentioned, project based. If you I just need my social media set up so that I'm on the right path. I just need a high level content calendar to talk about, what do I talk about for the next 6 months, a year, whatever. I just need a specific email marketing strategy or analytics, reporting for what's happening on my website. All of those things can be done as a one-off project based. We get you started in the right direction and we let you run with it. Or we can do something along the lines of a retainer, where you can either structure it as, here's our social media retainer. We're going to post X number of times. We're going to respond if someone, replies back to you or engages with you. We're going to escalate it when necessary, all of those things. Or you can do it kind of a more broad overall marketing retainer and say, you know what, today I may need to talk to you about analytics. Next week we need to talk about email. Whatever that is, that all kind of flows
Cover
together.
all the bases.
And
That's right.
with an agency like Mostyn Marketing Group, we can provide all of those services. And so, we can do a marketing retainer that will allow you to kind of flip back and forth depending on what your needs are any given day, week, month.
Wow, good stuff. So Sharon, if someone wants to get a hold of you, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
I'm on social media.
That's
I also am very responsive to email at info@mostynmarketing.com, and it's MOSTYN marketing.com.
excellent. And we'll post all that in the video and in the descriptions link below the video. Well, Sharon, we're out of time, but thank you so much. I know I've learned a lot from the call today. I hope everybody watching has as well. And we'll look forward to talking to you again in the future in some of our additional episodes.
It was a pleasure, and I look forward to talking to you soon.
Thanks a lot. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Talk to you.